In today's video, I'm sharing with you some easy to-do projects using Dollar Tree calendars, and they turn out so good. I hope you enjoy. For this project, I'm using the 2025 Farmers Market calendar from Dollar Tree, and I will be using this beautiful image for May. It says handmade and seasoned with love, self-serve, open 24 hours, and I thought this would look absolutely beautiful in my kitchen. First, I am going to remove the staples so that I can make sure I can save the entire image. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I love Farmhouse Decor, and this is perfect for that. To make it a bit more sturdy, I am going to cut a piece of poster board. I want the poster board to be about 5/8 of an inch larger at the bottom as well as at the top. I'm making marks so that I'll be able to cut this out, and yes, I am going to remove that label. Once I have the calendar page centered on top of the poster board, I'm going to attach the two together using a glue stick. I'll do that for half of the page at a time, making sure that I bring the glue all the way to the edges and pressing down firmly. Then I can repeat that on the other half. I will be using two 5-gallon paint stir sticks, and you can find these at your home improvement store. Because the poster board's width is 11 7/8 of an inch, I want an inch overhang on each side. So I'm going to cut both of these to 13 7/8 of an inch. And I'm going to do that using my handheld saw and miter box. And yes, this is so old. It does not look good. It's like maybe 20 years old, but it still works. Once I have those cut, I am going to use some sandpaper just to smooth out the ends as well as the edges and make sure everything's nice and smooth. Now it's time to put our pieces together, and because you can see this hole at the top, I do want to cover that up using one of the paint sticks. I am going to line that up with a dotted line, leaving an inch overhang on each side. I'll use the other paint stick at the bottom, lining it up with the dotted line. And to attach the paint sticks to the calendar and poster board, I'll be using some hot glue. Since we attached it to that poster board, it is no longer flimsy. This is a really sturdy piece. Now we need to make a hanger for it, so I'm going to take some twine, line that up on the back, and I'm making sure to use staples that will not come through that paint stick. I'm just going to use a couple of staples to hold the twine in place, and this project is finished. For this project, I'm using a wood round. It's about 10 inches. You can find these at Dollar Tree, but also in a package at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to cover the entire top part of this with an even layer of Mod Podge, bringing it all the way to the edges and allow that to dry. I'm using the Farmers Market calendar from Dollar Tree, and we're going to be using this beautiful bunny image. Now that our Mod Podge is dry on our wood round, I'm going to set this on a heating mat, line up the calendar page, place a piece of parchment paper on top, and then iron this on. I love using this iron-on method because it heats up the Mod Podge, it adheres it to the wood, and it's wrinkle-free with no bubbles. Once I've allowed that time enough to cool down, I'll trim away some of the extra paper using my scissors, and then remove the rest of the paper using some sandpaper to really give you those clean edges. Using some nautical rope from Dollar Tree, I'm going to hot glue this around the entire wood round. I had a very short piece, but luckily it was long enough to go all the way around the wood round. When I get to the end and I cut off the extra, I like to take some hot glue, put that in the middle of the nautical rope and twist it around to make sure those pieces don't come apart. Then I can finish gluing it, and we need a hanger, so on the back I'm going to glue a piece of twine along the edges of the nautical rope on each side. This project was so easy to make, and I just love how it turned out. For this project, I'll be using an 8x10 canvas. These two canvases came from Hobby Lobby for $4, so they were about $2 a piece. They are really, really high quality. That is real wood, not MBF that you would get at Dollar Tree. And I've noticed that a lot of times when I get my canvases from Dollar Tree, they're wonky and a little crooked. These are straight, so I thought this would be a good option. It's not much more expensive because it was on clearance. We're going to make some beautiful artwork, but first we need to cover the entire top part as well as all of the outside edges with a really good amount of Mod Podge. Because the canvas will soak up a little bit of the Mod Podge, you want to make sure you have enough spread across the top and the edges, and then allow that to dry. I'm using the 2025 Blossoms calendar from Dollar Tree. It is full of absolutely beautiful flowers. We're going to be using January's image, and I'm not sure what this flower is, so if you guys know, let me know in the comments below, but it is absolutely beautiful. Now that our Mod Podge is dry on our canvas, I'm going to line the calendar page up on the canvas, put my parchment paper on there, and then iron the top part on first. Once I know that that is adhered well around all of the edges, I am going to go to one side, fold that up, press it firmly, take my parchment paper and iron that side down. Then I can flip it over to the opposite side and repeat that process. But first I need to cut this extra calendar page off. I don't need all that extra. You just want enough to wrap around the edge. Then you can cut the corners off of all four corners just by cutting a little rectangle. Cut it as close to the canvas as you can so that you'll be able to take that piece, fold it over, and adhere it to that side, and repeat the process on the opposite side. This artwork turned out so beautiful. For this project, I'm using a glass cutting board from Dollar Tree, and on the bottom they have these little silicone feet, so I'm going to remove each of those and set them to the side. Then make sure I clean it really well to remove any of that glue residue and that it is completely dry. I'm going to add a layer of Mod Podge. This is all to the bottom of the glass cutting board, and I'm going to make sure that I spread this out evenly and try to keep my brush strokes going in one direction just so that it will blend in well. Now mine is going to be for decorative purposes, but if you want to recreate this project and actually be able to wash the cutting board, then you would want to use a dishwasher safe Mod Podge. While that is drying, I'm going to be using the Garden of Grace 2025 calendar from Dollar Tree. It has beautiful flowers and scripture, and I'm using May's image. It says, "Grace and peace be yours in abundance," 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 2. I have my heating mat out. This is the side with the Mod Podge. I'm going to flip this over so that the Mod Podge will be on the image, line up my design, and very carefully flip this back over and place my parchment paper on the back side of the calendar and very gently iron this on. I'm not going to leave my iron in one spot for very long because this is glass. Once I know that it has adhered well, I'm going to let it cool down, trim away the excess paper, and get that smooth line using my gator sander. Now, mine is for decorative purposes only, but if you wanted to be able to use it, you would want to add your dishwasher safe Mod Podge to the back side. Then you can reattach those silicone feet, and mine were still very sticky, but if yours aren't, you could add a little dot of hot glue. For this project, I'll be using this chunky piece of wood from Dollar Tree. It's 7.5 inches by 5 3/8 of an inch. Because the edges are pretty rough, I'm going to go over these with some sandpaper to smooth them down. I measured down a little less than 1 3/4 of an inch on each side and made a mark so that I could place a piece of painter's tape. Using some brown acrylic paint and water, I'm going to mix this thoroughly to create a stain and add this to the top above the painter's tape, all around the edges, and the entire back part of this piece of wood, and allow that to thoroughly dry. For the part of the wood that I did not paint, I'm going to add a layer of Mod Podge and allow that to dry. Using the Garden of Grace calendar from Dollar Tree, I'll be using this February image. Using my square, I'm going to line that up so I can cut a straight line as possible and cut this section out to place this on the piece of wood where the Mod Podge is and iron this on. The scripture for this piece comes from Job chapter 37 verse 14. Stand still and consider the wondrous works of God. Once this cools down, I will remove the excess paper using my gator sander. And I have some ribbon from Dollar Tree that I thought would match perfectly with this. So I'm going to hot glue this right where the paper meets the wood along the front and wrap it around each of the edges. I hope you enjoyed today's projects, and if you have a favorite, please let me know in the comment section down below because I always love to know which one is your favorite. If you haven't subscribed already, I would love for you to click that subscribe button right below the video. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please take care, and I'll see you guys next time.